There are 8 Japanese toothbrushing rules that Americans break every single day, and they are the reason your teeth keep turning yellow no matter how hard you brush. The frustrating part is that this yellowing has almost nothing to do with how often you brush or how expensive your toothpaste is. It comes from a handful of very specific habits around brushing that most Americans have never once questioned, because nobody ever told them there was another way to do it. The first rule is the reason your toothbrush has been fighting your enamel instead of protecting it. And the last rule is the reason your dentist has probably never brought any of this up with you. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to change tonight. The first mistake most Americans make is treating toothbrushing like a single habit you either do or don't do well. The Japanese Dental Association figured out decades ago that it is not one habit at all. It is a whole system. And that system is the reason Japan has spent the last 35 years running one of the most successful public dental health campaigns on the planet. It's called the 8020 campaign, launched in 1989 by the Japan Dental Association, together with Japan's Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare. The goal was simple to say and brutally hard to hit. Keep at least 20 of your own natural teeth by the time you turn 80. When the campaign started, fewer than 10% of 80-year-olds in Japan were hitting that number. Today, more than half of them are. That is a 5 times improvement in one generation, and it did not come from better dentists. It came from Japan changing what an ordinary person does with a toothbrush every single day. This video is about the 8 specific pieces of that system that never made it to America. And every one of them is the reason your teeth keep coming back yellow no matter what whitening kit you just bought. The first Japanese rule Americans break is about when you actually pick up the toothbrush in the first place. In Japan, roughly half of all adults brush their teeth after every single meal, not twice a day like the American standard, but after breakfast, after lunch, and after dinner, wherever they happen to be. The habit gets built into children starting in elementary school, where brushing time is often a mandatory part of the school day, right after lunch, with the whole class doing it together at the sink. By the time those kids are adults, brushing after a meal is not a discipline they have to talk themselves into. It is just what happens after food, the same way washing your hands is. In America, the standard most people were taught growing up is exactly twice a day, once in the morning and once before bed, and whatever happens to your teeth in the 12 hours in between is just something you live with. That gap matters more than it sounds like it should, because the yellowing on your teeth is not one event. It is a coating that builds in layers every time food and drink sit on your enamel with nothing to disturb them. Coffee in the morning, sauce at lunch, wine with dinner, all of it sits there for hours doing its work while your toothbrush is sitting in a cup in the bathroom, untouched until bedtime. You have not been failing at oral hygiene. You have just been leaving a 10 to 12 hour window open every single day for stains to set into your enamel, and nobody ever told you that window was the actual problem. So start carrying a small travel toothbrush and a mini tube of toothpaste the way half of Japan already does, and give your teeth even 60 seconds of attention after lunch, especially on the days you know you had coffee or something with color in it. It doesn't need to be a full 2-minute routine with rinsing and flossing built in, it just needs to happen, because the entire point is interrupting the window before the stain has a chance to settle in, not replicating your morning routine 3 times a day. That alone closes the single biggest gap between the way Japan brushes and the way America brushes. And it's the one habit on this entire list that costs you nothing except remembering to keep a spare brush in your bag or your desk drawer. The second Japanese rule Americans break is about the toothbrush itself, not the technique. Walk into a Japanese drugstore and the toothbrush aisle looks nothing like the one at your local pharmacy. Japanese toothbrushes are consistently smaller in head size and consistently softer in bristle than the American standard, built specifically to get into tight spaces around the back molars and to work close to the gum line without tearing at the enamel surface. American toothbrushes, by comparison, tend to run larger in the head and firmer in the bristle, on the assumption that firmer bristles clean better. That assumption is backwards, and it is the reason so many Americans are quietly damaging the exact surface they are trying to whiten. Firm bristles do not just clean plaque off your enamel, they also create microscopic scratches on the surface of the tooth over years of repeated use. And those tiny scratches are exactly where new staining particles from coffee, tea, and wine like to grab hold. So a firmer brush does not just fail to prevent yellowing, it can actually be manufacturing more surface for the next stain to stick to. You have been buying a firmer brush every time you replace one because it feels like it is doing more work, and the whole time it may have been working against the exact result you wanted. Switch to a soft, bristled, compact head toothbrush, the kind that is the default option in a Japanese drugstore rather than the premium option in an American one, and let the brushing technique do the work instead of the bristle stiffness. The third Japanese rule Americans break is about how long you keep using the same brush before it becomes part of the problem instead of the solution. In Japan, health guidance around toothbrush use consistently points to replacing your brush roughly every 1 to 3 months, and the habit of checking bristle condition regularly is built into how oral hygiene is taught from childhood. The moment the bristles start to splay outward instead of standing straight, a Japanese trained approach treats that brush as finished, regardless of the calendar date. In America, a huge number of people keep the same toothbrush for 4, 5, sometimes 6 months, well past the point where the bristles have gone soft and splayed in every direction. A splayed worn brush does not clean your teeth the way a fresh one does. It glances across the surface instead of actually lifting plaque and surface stain off the enamel, which means the coffee and wine residue you think you're brushing away every morning is mostly just getting pushed around rather than removed. You have been performing the exact same 2 minutes of effort every single day and getting a shrinking result out of it every single month because the tool doing the work has been quietly failing you the entire time. So replace your toothbrush the moment the bristles start splaying, not on some fixed monthly reminder, and treat a worn brush as no better than not brushing at all. Take 30 seconds right now. Go look at the brush actually sitting in your bathroom, and if the bristles are leaning outward instead of standing up straight, that brush has already stopped doing its job, possibly for weeks. The fourth Japanese rule Americans break is about what happens in the bathroom aisle, not the bathroom sink, and it comes down to a chemical most Americans have never heard of, even though it is sitting in almost every kitchen in the country: fluoride. This is the one place where the comparison actually runs in the opposite direction from what you'd expect, and it matters for exactly why your teeth stain the way they do. Japanese tap water is almost never fluoridated, and a meaningful share of Japanese toothpaste on the shelf contains no fluoride or only a very small amount of it, compared with the American standard where fluoride in both the water supply and the toothpaste has been the default for decades. But here's the part that actually explains the yellowing gap. Fluoride's main job is fighting cavities by hardening enamel against acid. It is not designed to fight surface staining at all, and a lot of Americans have quietly assumed that a fluoride toothpaste is automatically doing everything a toothpaste can do, including keeping teeth white. It is not, and it was never built to. Meanwhile, Japanese oral care culture put its emphasis somewhere fluoride doesn't reach, using the toothbrush itself, the frequency of brushing, and ingredients aimed specifically at surface polish and staining rather than assuming one ingredient covers every job a toothpaste needs to do. You have been trusting a single ingredient to handle a problem it was never designed to solve, and the actual gap has been sitting in the aisle the whole time, unaddressed by the tube you already own. The fifth Japanese rule Americans break is about what's actually inside the toothpaste tube, specifically a compound called catechin, which comes from green tea. In Japan, green tea is not an occasional drink. It is the baseline beverage, consumed daily by most of the population, and its most active compound, catechin, has been studied specifically for its ability to interfere with the bacteria that build up plaque on the tooth surface and contribute to staining. That research made its way directly into retail products. Catechin-infused toothpaste and mouth rinses are a normal category on a Japanese drugstore shelf, sitting right next to the standard products, not tucked away as some specialty item. In America, the tea aisle in a typical supermarket is dominated by sweetened iced tea in a bottle, and catechin as an ingredient barely registers as a term anyone outside of a nutrition class has heard of, let alone looked for in a toothpaste. That gap is not just about what's in your bathroom cabinet. It traces back to what's in your diet, because the antioxidant load you're taking in daily shapes how much your body and your mouth are fighting oxidative buildup in the first place. And oxidative buildup is directly tied to how quickly surface staining sets into enamel. You cannot brush away a staining process that your daily drink choices are actively feeding at the same time. So swap at least one sweetened beverage a day for plain green tea, and look specifically for a catechin-listed toothpaste or rinse the next time you're shopping, because that ingredient is doing a job your current tube was never asked to do. The sixth Japanese rule Americans break is about what happens after the toothpaste, not during it, and it's the step almost every American skips completely: the tongue. In a Japanese bathroom, tongue cleaning is treated as a distinct step from toothbrushing, not an afterthought, and a dedicated tongue cleaner, or the back ridge of the toothbrush itself, is used specifically to clear the coating that builds up on the surface of the tongue every single day. In an American bathroom, brushing usually stops the moment the teeth are done, and the tongue, despite sitting directly against the back of your teeth for the other 22 hours of the day, gets skipped entirely. That coating on your tongue is not cosmetic. It is a live layer of bacteria and food debris that sits in direct contact with your teeth every time you swallow, talk, or simply close your mouth, and it continuously reintroduces staining material and bacterial buildup onto the exact tooth surfaces you just spent 2 minutes cleaning. You have been brushing your teeth thoroughly, and then handing them right back to the one surface in your mouth you never touch, night after night, without ever making the connection. So add 10 seconds of gentle tongue cleaning to the end of your existing routine, using either a dedicated cleaner or the ridged back of your toothbrush, working from back to front, and do it every time you brush, not just when you remember. Go gently. This isn't a surface you need to scrub. A light pass is enough to lift the coating without irritating the tissue underneath, and you'll likely notice the difference in your own breath within days, long before you notice any change in the staining itself. The seventh Japanese rule Americans break is about what you reach for when you actually want whiter teeth, and it's where the two countries take completely opposite approaches to the same goal. American whitening products, from over-the-counter strips to in-office treatments, are typically built around hydrogen peroxide at meaningfully high concentrations, on the logic that a stronger bleaching agent gets a faster, more dramatic result. Japan's regulatory approach, under the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare, has historically kept peroxide concentrations in over-the-counter whitening products far more restricted than what's allowed on an American shelf, which pushed the Japanese whitening market toward gentler, lower concentration formulas and toward polishing-based approaches that work on the surface layer of the tooth rather than deep bleaching that pushes into the enamel itself. The trade-off is real in both directions, but the part that matters for staining specifically is this: aggressive, high-concentration bleaching can leave enamel more porous immediately afterward. And porous enamel is enamel that grabs onto the next stain even faster than it did before. You have been reaching for the strongest option on the shelf every single time, assuming stronger automatically means better. And there's a real chance that strategy has been quietly setting your teeth up to stain again faster than a gentler approach ever would have. So look for lower concentration, gradual whitening formulas, and polishing-based toothpaste rather than defaulting to the most aggressive strip or gel on the shelf, and give a gentler approach real time to work instead of chasing the fastest possible result. 7 rules in, and there's something about the entire comparison you're being held to that you deserve to know before we get to the last one. Japan didn't get here by accident. The Japan Dental Association and the national government built an actual campaign around this, with a name, a specific numeric target, a 35-year track record, and measurable results published and republished for 3 decades. It became something schools taught, something drugstores stocked shelves for, something the government tracked the way it tracks other public health outcomes. America never built an equivalent. There was never a comparable national campaign, no widely known target number, no comparable 30-year public push around it. You were not given worse teeth than the Japanese. You were given a toothbrush, told to use it twice a day, and left to work out everything else on your own for your entire life. The 8th and final Japanese rule Americans break is about the conversation that never happens in an American dentist's office. In Japan, oral health guidance leans heavily on prevention delivered constantly and repeatedly, starting in childhood and continuing through adult checkups, with an entire cultural apparatus of school brushing time, drugstore product categories, and public campaigns reinforcing the same handful of habits over and over for an entire lifetime. In America, the standard model of a dental visit is built around a cleaning and an exam roughly twice a year, with most of the actual conversation happening only when something is already wrong, a cavity, a stain the patient specifically asks about, a whitening treatment the patient specifically requests. Nobody sits you down and walks through your brushing frequency, your brush replacement schedule, your bristle type, or your diet as a connected system, because the American model was never built around that kind of ongoing preventive conversation the way the Japanese one was. You have likely gone your entire adult life without a single person ever laying out these 8 things for you as one connected picture. Not because your dentist didn't know them, but because the system you're inside of was never built to have that conversation with you in the first place. Your 6-month cleaning was built to catch problems, not to teach you a system. And there's a real difference between those 2 things that nobody ever explained to you. None of this was ever about how hard you were trying. You were brushing twice a day exactly like you were told, buying the firmest brush on the shelf because it felt like more effort, trusting the fluoride in your toothpaste to handle a job it was never built for, and reaching for the strongest whitening product every single time because stronger sounded like better. Every one of those choices made sense given the information you actually had. You just never had the other half of it. Every single piece of this is fixable, starting with the next time you pick up your toothbrush. All right, thanks a lot for watching. Check out my previous video appearing on your screen, and I'll see you in the next one.